Today I will expound an American slasher film called Chain Letter. As the film begins, a lady is seen hearkening to a news broadcast which uncovers that a hacksaw who was probing into the new teenager homicide has disappeared. We are then at that point taken to a garage where a man ties up a senseless teenager and duct tapes her mouth. Back in the house, the lady is joined by her spouse and the two certainly talk concerning the offense. The adolescent in the garage acquires her sensibility and understands that she has been tethered to the back of two vehicles. The duo leaves the house and gets inside the vehicles. As they drive away, the defenseless adolescent is hauled out behind them. The lady sees the casualty through her window mirror, yet before she can caution the man, he drives off and the scene goes blank through the various news. We are then at that point told with regards to the negative side of innovation, how technology has attacked our secrecy and facilitated wrongdoings by exposing our data. Next we are acquainted with the main character, Jessie. Jessie receives a call from her companion, Rachel, who unfolds that the man she had been dating on the web ended up being a 40-year-old jerk. The two friends talk some more with regards to it, choosing that they need to renounce web-based dating and then disconnect the call, saying they will visit soon. The following day, the young lady's companion, Michael, gets together with neither of their companions, Johnny, at school, who appears to be extremely anxious since he didn't get the football scholarship she had been yearning for. Rachel joins the young men and they start talking. Rachel's siblings Neil comes to her and the two beginning quibbling about a portion of Neil's private exercise which Rachel uncovered to their moms. Neil already leaves after the event. The friends are joined by Jessie. Once the young men are going to attend the class, Dante, a high schooler who was fixated on Jessie, strolls towards her and greets her. As Rachel leaves them to talk, Dante bestows Jessie a rose and offers her to walk to class. He states her that she has been dealing with his vehicles and he will take her on a ride when it's mended. Next we are taken to the classroom where their professor is holding forth them about the negative impacts of technology, proposing how it enables accomplished outsiders to know all about you. The students are apathetic what he says, obviously not sharing his scorn for technology, and when the class dismisses, they go out hurriedly. That evening, while Neil is playing a video game, he gets a chain letter from a mysterious individual letting him know that he is the primary one who links the chain. It invigorates him to share it with 5 individuals or probably he will bite the dust. Neil is going to erase it, however Rachel enters his room and requests to utilize the PC to compose an email. Rachel produces the chain letter and comments that she really wants to send it, saying she can afford the risk. She selects 4 names, yet Neil refrains her before she can complete the process. Additionally, she spoke something profane prior to departing. Later, Neil sends the letter. Johnny gets the letter, yet erases it, promptly believing it's completely ludicrous. While Jessie, Dante, Michael are sitting in a gaming place, Michael and Jessie get it. They inquire Dante whether he got the letter, to which he responds he doesn't have a phone since he is so fond of technology. Jessica and Michael forward their message and let him know that he should browse his email when he returns home, since he is on the list. At that point, when Johnny arrives at the gym, he found Kevin there, his adversary who had won the football scholarship. Johnny needed a serious discussion between the two, uncovers that Kevin also got the chain letter. After a short chit-chat between them, Kevin goes out, offending Johnny obliquely. After exercising for some time, Johnny goes to take some water. While he is drinking, a dark-hooded man bashes his head on the faucet, breaking 2 of his teeth and making him passed out. The slayer then at that point drags his insensate body to an equipment and begins dealing with him with his chains. In the interim, when Dante returns his home, he observes the chain letter on his PC. Thinking of it as a spam message, Dante erases it. A notification is sent to the killer's computer telling him with regards to the removed message. An inspection crew shows up at the gym to investigate Johnny's punishment. Criminal investigator Crenshaw, top of the investigation, is informed that Johnny had no phone. He goes to visit his mate who was assisting him with his vehicle. He is informed that his vehicle is currently repaired and prepared for a ride. Dante gets extremely thrilled after this and gets inside the vehicle, beginning to practice how he would approach Jessie for a ride in it. He sees something spilling from the motor and gets out to take a look. While he is under the motor to see what's spilling, somebody cuts the chain holding the engine set up above him, allowing it to fall over him to smashing him. Later 7 days passes after the tragedy, with criminal investigator actually left without a piece of evidence concerning the deceased killer. A discussion between the investigators uncovers that Kevin Daniels, Johnny's contender, has disappeared also. After a couple of days of closure of the school reopens, the teacher tells his students that they need to finish their paper since the closure is over. While working on her paper about security and technology given by the professor who despised it, something clicks in Jesse's mind. While conversing with the ranchers nearby in order to elicit more details about the chain link, Detective Crenshaw turns up to meet Mr. Bradford. Crenshaw brought his attention to the link and inquires whether he saw somebody with such chains. Bradford says he has seen them previously, however can't remember where. Crenshaw gives his card to Bradford, requesting him to call if he recollects where he saw them. Jessie deduces that the chain letter caused the passing of her companions. Frightened, she called Rachel to tell her regarding this, but Rachel doesn't get the call since she is taking a bath. Jessie calls Neil, who was caught up with gaming at a gaming center, and asks him where Rachel is. At first, Neil cracks few jokes about it. However, discerning the dread and exigency in Jessie's voice, Neil decides to meet her at her home. While bathing, Rachel becomes skeptical of a potential intruder inside their body. She wears a gown and goes down the stairs to look into the matter very furtively. She looks behind for a second. Next moment, she sees the slayer standing right in front of her. She lets out a harrowing howl. Before the killer whips the chain, the screen goes blank. When Jessie and Neil show up at the house, they find the police and the investigator. They learned they are late. Investigator Crenshaw pays his sympathies to Jessie and asks her the reason. She thought Rachel's life was at stake. Jessie reveals him regarding the chain letters and how the ones who didn't forward it passed away. Crenshaw proposes her to forward the message to him so that he can examine more. Jessie scruples, saying if she sends it to him, she needs to send it to 4 people also. Crenshaw pacifies her and tells her she won't need to stress over this since he will deal with the killer. Afterwards, the investigator pays his condolence to Neil and leaves. In his chamber, he is met by a new profiler assigned for the case, Wiggins. Wiggins asks Crenshaw his thought regarding the case, to which Crenshaw replies he has a belief that the chain are the way to the slaughterer, since they are alike all the time, spotted on the crime locations. Having seen the barcodes on the links, Wiggins comments that utilizing technology to kill must be the stratagem of the killer we have heard it. Through additional investigation, Jessie discovers that the killer is utilizing a virus that hacks their computers to follow them. That's the reason he knows where they are. She tells Michael and Neil to meet her and appraises them about it. Feeling extremely apprehensive, Neil begins inculpating himself for the homicides, saying he was the first connection in the chain. Michael attempts to mollify him, yet Neil shares a chain letter with him to make him realize how it feels to be the reason of others' demise. Michael gets bent out of shape and assaults Neil. The two begin battling and thus stop when Jessie intercedes soon. After Neil gets another chain letter, understanding that he is being observed, at that second, Neil takes a gander at that message with sickening fright and opines that he would continue to share it since he doesn't want to be killed. Saying this, he turns back and departs. That night, while Neil is working in his computer, he gets another chain mail. This petrifies him and he begins freezing. Saying he has sent the message to everybody he possibly knows, the message he assaults and kills him. Jessie calls Michael and says him to forward the message to her so that she can share it with Crenshaw. She tells him that Crenshaw will locate the killer through it. Michael advises her to be cautious and passes the message to her. After that, investigator Crenshaw is seen trespassing into a 4-second building as a discussion between him and Bradford is heard behind the background. Bradford had summoned the investigator and told him concerning the location of a deceased companion of him who used to mark his chains with barcodes. Subsequently, Crenshaw chose to explore the place. As Crenshaw is occupied with exploring the spot, his colleague attempts to call him. Furthermore, leaves a message telling him that the killings are perpetrated by a ludite coterie who use barcode to show how ruinous technology is to destroy people's lives. Even when Crenshaw questions him who is he, the man tells that he is Kevin Daniels, the adolescent who disappeared a few weeks ago. Crenshaw vows to help him. As he steps forward, a sensor ahead of him gets activated and sets Kevin ablaze. Crenshaw observes vulnerably as Kevin flames to his demise. The investigator then calls his department to talk to Wiggins, but the official on the telephone lets him know that their security framework had been hacked. The man asserting to be Wiggins ended up to be a sham, and the genuine Wiggins appeared to be expired. The fakers were ringing in Crenshaw's mind. A concatenation of flashback starts as he recollects how the imposter had discussed the cult abhorring the technology and needing to kill others utilizing it. The killer in no time shows up behind Crenshaw and assaults him. Jessie unplugs all of her gadgets and wrecks her phone. Michael attempts to call her and tells her that he is concerned for her since he sent the message to her. He requests her to call him and that he would be at her doorstep. In the morning, while Jessie is dozing, she has an epiphany where her wrecked telephone begins to ring. She gets up to attend the call. However, when she does, the Slayer jumps over her through the window. Jessie accepted this. Terrified, gasping heavily, she gets up and gets changed, then returns to bed. The following morning, the news from the start of the flick is displayed again, uncovering the vanishing of the detective Crenshaw, the lead inspector of the teen slaughter, Crenshaw only. Her mother spies her and stops the vehicle. Her pater drives off, dragging her behind and ripping her apart. As the film concludes, criminal investigator Crenshaw is found fastened to a table while the Slayer forging the chains. Well, that's all for today. Thank you.